Hi, I'm Gina Ventola, Practice Manager for Ventola Law. One of the best parts of my job is meeting with business owners. However, at times, it can be difficult to meet in person. That's why I started this show, to introduce you to local business owners in our community. Join me on Your Virtual Coffee, a new kind of networking. Hey everyone, welcome to Your Virtual Coffee, a web show which introduces you to great local businesses in the Denver metro area. I'm so excited. My guest today is Dan Smink. He founded C1 Partners after seeing the great need of small businesses for digital marketing support. Dan is a respected business leader who has been working in the marketing agency, medical device, and nonprofit industries for over 20 years. He has developed and implemented countless marketing campaigns that have produced millions of dollars worth of revenue for different clients. Appointed by 2 Denver mayors to leadership roles in the community, his vision and creativity have repeatedly led to significant growth for the organizations he has led. And with that, Dan, welcome to Your Virtual Coffee.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to meet the person you just described. So, that's
I love that. So, as you know, we like to do business with people we like, know, and trust. So if it's all right with you, I would like for our audience to kind of get to know you a little bit on a personal level.
Sure.
So right off the bat, where are you originally from?
So I grew up in Philadelphia, but I've lived all over. I went to college in New England, and I've lived in Germany when my dad was in the Army. I lived in California, the Pacific Northwest. I lived in Asia twice. I lived in Ohio. I lived in DC before I moved here. So all over the United States, other parts of the world. So it's been fortunate.
Wow. What was your favorite subject in school?
I was a nerd. To be honest, I liked them all. So I know exactly. That's why we get along so well. I would probably say math, which would be funny because I was an English major in college, but I loved science. I loved math.
Now, math as in 1 + 1 or math as in x = 2 cosine A?
I'd say I like calculus less than some of the other ones, but I just, math made sense in it. You could, kind of put it together, and it wasn't as opinionated as some other subjects were. So.
Well, it's kind of is or it isn't kind of thing.
Exactly. So you couldn't, I was always kind of irritated when I thought I wrote a really great paper in English, analyzing a novel or a poem or something like that, and the professor would give it a B, and I'd be like, "That was really good work. Like, what do you mean that just because you don't like my argument doesn't mean that it's a bad paper." So there was a part of that was just sort of subjective that I didn't like. But anyway.
So speaking of things that can be subjective, digital marketing. What is it about that just gets you excited, gets you out of bed in the morning, ready to conquer the world?
So I'd have to rewind a little bit in that I started my career in 97. And when I first started doing marketing, you'd put together a campaign and you would execute it, and then it would get done and you would put together your analysis of it, and it would take a long time to do that because you had to collect data. Then you had to make assumptions about, was it successful or not? And you couldn't really, you couldn't say hard and fast like the campaign was really successful. Or at least it was often hard to do that. And so when I would present to like the business unit leaders, to whatever business I was working for at the time, what my conclusions were, I had to pre-sell the entire presentation to everybody that was going to be in the room and figure out what their objections might be to my analysis and the results that I was presenting. Because there would be some people that might not agree with what I was doing, or might not like it. And the reason that I would do that is because I didn't want them to, in the presentation, pick at the assumptions that I had made and hence pull down any conclusions that I had put together, because there would be assumptions that it was built on. And so, because I wouldn't necessarily have all the data that I needed. It was never a complete picture of data. It wasn't like I worked for Procter & Gamble and was selling, I don't know, Pantene shampoo, right? And you get all this market data that allows you to be very, very accurate about your return on investment for your marketing spend. So in the cases of what I was doing in medical device, they just didn't have that data. So you would have to make assumptions. Anyway, so with digital, the great part about it is that I just put the data up. Like, here it is. Like, this is how the amount you spend. This is the number of leads we got. This is the number of sales that you got from those leads, so we know your conversion rate. This is the revenue that you generated from those sales. This is the recurring revenue that's coming from those. And so here's your return on, we understand your profitability, so here's your return on your marketing spend. End of story. Like, we don't really need to argue about it. So that to me,
kind of like the math. We're back to the math piece again.
Very much back to the math. Yeah, you can. I mean, I love marketing because it is, to me, it's the one discipline in business where you bring the qualitative and the quantitative together, and it's a marriage between the two of them, and you create something out of that moves people and engages them and gets them to buy your product, right? HR doesn't do that. Finance doesn't do that. Operations doesn't do that. R&D, you could argue it might, but in a lot of ways it doesn't. Marketing is the one that is really at the junction of technology or math or quantitative and liberal arts, creativity, qualitative work. And a good marketing campaign, the imagery, the language, the colors, the messaging, it's all quantitative and it looks beautiful. But if it's done right, it's sitting on this foundation of quantitative analysis, which is just unique. So,
would you say it's like a battle plan? You have to be strategic in addition to creative.
Oh, yes. We actually use that comment a lot, in that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So we say that to our clients all the time. That's the reason I laugh, because I'm like, yeah, we say that it's a battle plan.
I like that. I like that expression.
You gotta be, and when we tell our clients is like, we're going to start here. And I can, like, we do modeling up front before we ever, I can explain that later, but we do modeling up front, and to see what we think is possible. What kind of return could they get? And the thing I tell them about the model that we put together, because a lot of it has assumptions that we put in it, and it has assumptions that the prospect or the client puts in it. And I tell them, I can guarantee you one thing about this model: it's wrong. The question is, how wrong and in what direction?
And like, how to fix it.
I'm sorry?
Well, I was going to say, and how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kind of leads me into, we kind of touched on this question, but how does C1 Partners work with business owners when it comes to marketing solutions? Now, you talked about, going through the initial plan and how it's not working. What is your process?
Yeah. So great question. So I think, what we look for from the beginning is accountability. We want to be accountable to our customer, but we also want our customer to understand that they're accountable to us. Because, I can have two clients. Law firms are a great example, right? And you would understand this as well as anybody. I can do the exact same job for two law firms. Let's just pick family law, right? Because we have a lot of clients in that space. Exact same work, right? Generate leads for the exact same cost. This one closes business 5% of the time. This one closes business 30% of the time. This guy loses money with me. This guy makes money with me, right? Everything else is the same. So we are accountable to the client from the standpoint of what's it going to cost to get a lead and what's the quality of that lead. They're accountable to us in terms of how long does it take to close that sale? What's the revenue per sale? What's your profitability, right? Because go back to that same example, right? One business, really well run, great margins, 80% gross margin. Other one, 50% gross margin. I can actually get a client for more costly, potentially a better client, but it's going to be more costly with the first one, and they can still make money than I can for the second one, right? It could be less. I might not be able to do as good a job because I might not be able to compete for terms that would get them a better client. So we look for accountability. We want to provide accountability to our customer. What I was talking before about clarity in terms of revenue, cost per lead and how many leads we're going to get you. But then we want that in return from them. So.
No, that's a lot of factors to consider.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most people consider it goes the other way. I mean, people will say to me, well, can you guarantee your results? And I was always like, well, can you guarantee your close rate? They hate that, but it's important. It's a relationship with a good agency or a good consultant is a shared relationship. And so we are not shy about, we want to be accountable. I tell our clients, this is all about making you money. And if we're not making you money, you should fire us. And we don't get fired very often.
Well, you're wasting each other's time. If that's the case.
Last thing I want to do is waste somebody's money. I tell them that up front, which frankly, from most people, they find that kind of approach from a marketing agency to be refreshing and unusual. So.
Oh, I believe that. And actually that leads me into what I want to talk to you about next. So what makes C1 Partners special, different, or unique from others? I guess you just touched on one there, the willingness to sometimes walk away.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's one. I think it's the seeking of accountability. We work with a lot of fractional CMOs and CFOs. You've probably seen this sort of movement in the market where you see people that used to have full-time job for a Fortune 1000 company, and now they want to do what they did before, but they'd like to have more diversity of clients. So they'll work with a bunch of smaller, medium-sized businesses instead of a really big company, and they might work 8, 10, 20 hours a week and have 3, 4, 5 clients. And so there's this whole fractional CXO movement happening. Anyway, we work with a bunch of these people, and they've actually said to me on more than one occasion, you're the digital agency everybody's looking for that nobody can find. And I'm always like, that's one heck of a compliment. But really, help me understand why you say that. And they tell me it's 2 reasons. One, the financial modeling that we do before we ever start with somebody, so that we understand, is there a business case for what they're trying to do? Or in some cases, is the opportunity bigger than they thought it was, and they might want to change their business? So I've kept people out of business, meaning that they didn't go in and waste money when they wanted to go into something. I've also had people completely change their business model because the opportunity was 10 times greater than what they thought it was. Neither of those happens a ton, but they both definitely happen. But tends to be more in the middle. But that's one thing that we do differently. And the second is that we are really focused on, I built the company to be like a manufacturing organization so that we do things consistently, and so that we can then determine if we're going to be able to deliver on the results that we look to do when we did the financial modeling. So the example would be like, if you and I were both account managers for our company, we would onboard our clients the same way. We would do our monthly reporting the same way. We do our writing of blog posts the same way. We would optimize a website the same way. And then if you came up with an innovation, you wouldn't just keep it to yourself. You would share it with the rest of the operations team to help improve what we do. And what happens is we get faster and we get better, we get more accurate at what we do. And it all ties back to that model that helps the client make more money, make a better return for their marketing spend.
Oh, I love that so much. That's such a good way to explain it as
Thanks.
far as what you offer, the services, and that type of thing.
So the interesting result of that is by being so focused on return on marketing spend, we have much longer relationships with our clients than most agencies. Most agencies churn half their business every year. We lose about 10%. And our average tenure with our clients is somewhere around 3.5 to 4 years. Because of that, you actually see, not only do we increase their lead generation and their revenue over time, but we actually, organic search done well creates an asset on their balance sheet, but we also increase the value of the business. So last year we had a client sell for 30 million that would have sold for 1 or 2 had they not met us. And then another one sold for 150 million that came to us when they literally had 0 revenue.
Wow.
They like us. And we actually do more work now with like private equity firms and people that are doing investing because of the return that our clients get on not only do we grow revenue, but we create enterprise value. And business owners like it when their grandchildren, they make enough money from the sale of their business that their grandchildren don't have to work.
So Dan, let's talk about power partners. And for our audience, power partners are those businesses who target the same client you do, but are not your competition. A great example would be a real estate agent and a mortgage broker. They both target that homeowner or future homeowner, but they don't compete with one another because they offer complementary services. Right. So that's what we're talking about here. Business friends, for lack of a better term. But in order to determine who your power partners are, we should probably get to know who your ideal client is. So Dan, could you share with us who is an ideal client for C1 Partners?
Besides the one that pay the bills.
Yes, we always like those.
You like those clients. So our ideal client is really a business between about 5 million and 50 million in revenue that has a commitment to marketing. And by that I mean, like, I've had clients that were on the smaller end of that scale that were extremely committed to marketing and great relationships. We were able to do all kinds of great things for them. I've had people that were larger than that who could have afforded to do amazing things, but weren't committed to marketing. And so while revenue is important, there's also that just commitment to making marketing work for them. But beyond that, it's really, there isn't an industry that we're focused on. It's not like we are B2C or B2B. What we do is actually, it's a dirty little secret. But the way that you do digital marketing for a construction company is the same way you would do digital marketing for a ski retail shop, because they both have customers that are searching online to solve a problem using a search engine. And so they type in a keyword that they want an answer for. And if you're a business that provides a solution for that, you want to come up for it. So the way you would do that is going to be the same, whether it's B2B, B2C, technology, construction, service, anything. Your clients have problems that they want to solve, and so they want to rank for those keywords.
So the question is, who else targets the same client? And what I'm thinking is someone for the volume that you're talking about as far as annual revenue.
Yeah.
This business has employees. And so I'm thinking people in the HR or PEO, professional employment organization space.
Oh, that would take care of our clients?
Yes.
Yes. So like those, not so much. I mean, they take care of them, but they aren't privy to the conversations that a good referral partner would be privy to.
Okay.
So they are great people for us to have from a networking standpoint, because occasionally they come across a business that is looking to grow and needs a marketing agency, and so they call us. Or my client is got an HR problem, they need a PEO, right? So it's good for me to have that. It's great for me to have those resources to refer clients to or to get referrals from, because I can be a value-added resource. I'm not just helping my client with marketing now, I'm helping them solve their business problems, right? So I think it's great to have those kinds of relationships. But the ones where we generate the most referrals from are people that are related to us from a functional standpoint. So they're dealing with questions around revenue growth, pricing, strategy, it might be around execution, around PR or web development. So our best power partners are fractional CMOs, business coaches or business consultants, strategy coaches, sales consultants, fractional CFOs. CFOs really like us because they love the financial modeling. They're like, oh my gosh, how'd you figure that out?
And for our audience, the word fractional kind of falls into, it's a great term that describes a really great service that business owners can offer a company who may not be able to hire, let's say, a full-time CFO. So this person would provide you those CFO services on a limited basis. So, and it goes, and it's not just CFOs, you've got marketing, you've got legal. You've got, I mean, it is the term that you will hear a lot more about in the years to come, because it's a great space to be in. And so when Dan is talking about that, there are so many things that individual, almost consultants can offer in that space without you having to hire them full time.
Right. Yeah. They're very expensive. A really good CFO, it's going to cost several $100,000, right? Very few companies are big enough where they need full-time CFO talent on their payroll. But most companies could benefit from at least a small amount, maybe only once a quarter, do they need a CFO for a day? Other people need them, 5, 10, 20 hours a week. Just depends on the size of the business and the complexity of the business. So fractional senior executive talent is a great option for small businesses. And so those people, particularly the ones that are dealing with strategy and revenue generation, or are looking for a better return on investment, they are a great referral source for us, because they know when their client needs the kind of help that we can provide. So we get great referrals from them. The ones that are sort of downstream from us would be like the web developer, the graphic designer, copywriter, who, their client, they just built a website for somebody, but they know that the client needs to get the website to rank. So
right.
They say, oh, you should talk to, one of Dan's team to drive traffic to the website I just built for you.
And you actually kind of hit the nail on the head with that. On a side note, is that if you're dealing with someone who builds websites, and I'm saying this to the audience, it doesn't necessarily mean that, it may mean that they know Java or Joomla or any of the WordPress, but it doesn't necessarily mean they understand marketing and SEO.
Great point. No, that's a great point.
And so if you encounter that where you want a website design, I'm going to recommend to you that you reach out to Dan, because Dan will give you that, floor to ceiling type of view for it versus just building you a functional website. So and to be honest, I see websites like this all the time. I can tell the difference between when you work with someone like Dan and when you work with someone who just got out of school for web development.
Yeah, and not even somebody who just got, you can have a great web developer, but I describe it as you've never built a mansion in the woods. without a driveway and a road to get to it, right? There's no point. And so that's what usually happens, and it's going to sound funny because what often happens is people are like, I need a website. And that's actually the last thing they need. First thing they need is a marketing strategy. Then they need to figure out how they're going to execute on that marketing strategy. And it might be digital, it might be PR, it might be direct mail, it might be print. Depends, right? I don't know. But they need a marketing strategy. Then they need somebody like us to execute on the digital. And the digital is pretty common because, data shows that 70 to 90% of purchasing decisions go online. How many purchase decisions have you made in the last year where you didn't go online?
Almost never. I mean,
almost never.
Yeah,
Exactly.
almost never.
Unless it's something you've already bought and you know where you're going. Like if I'm getting a new pair of tennis shoes, right? Even then I still go to Amazon. But like I need some new tennis shoes. I go to a tennis store to get somebody to tell me, what's good ones for my feet, right? But like I need something else. Most times I'm doing the research online, trying to figure out what I want to buy. So so you will need digital at some point, but you need a marketing strategy first. Once you have your digital strategy, then you build your website. Usually it happens the other way. People build the website and then they say, well, make it rank. And then they come to us. And the problem is we have to rebuild the website. Probably when you do it that way, you haven't doubled your costs, but you've probably increased them by 40 to 60% because we have to rewrite the content. Sometimes we have to change the layout of the website. And both of those are expensive. And so you don't want to do that. Now, what often happens to me is people will come to me and they'll say, well, I want to market my business. And I'll say, what's your marketing strategy? And they'll say, I don't have one. And I'll say, well, let me introduce you to one of my fractional CMO friends. I can get started with you, but it would be really good if you had them to put together a strategy first. And so it's oftentimes like I actually pass them, people come to me and I pass them one step above me, knowing that they'll eventually come back. But, it's much better to do it that way than to build that mansion in the woods without a driveway and without a road to get to it, for your website.
I think that's an excellent analogy.
Thanks.
That you could use for even legal strategy.
I was just gonna say most businesses.
Yeah, because you have to
legal HR, right? You don't just go get some benefits for your company, right? You actually need a plan, an HR plan. So you should work with a PEO to develop an HR strategy, and then decide what what benefits am I going to offer to my employees,
and what solutions would work best.
Right, and they're not cookie cutter.
So I'm going to step back to the Power Partner discussion where we were talking about the revenue planning and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Would commercial bankers fall under that? Because they're kind of involved with that process too, because
they can be. I haven't found them to be great. The ones who are tied closely to their customers' businesses. So, ones where they are sitting down with that business 1, 2, 3 times a year saying, what's your growth trajectory? Okay, how are you going to fund that? What's your plan for generating revenue so you can pay off this loan that you want to get, right? Oh, you don't have a plan. Oh, but let me introduce you to a marketing company that can help you, right? Those are the ones that are really partnering with their clients, and that's not everybody, are the ones that, commercial bankers that would be good. And not to say that they, these people can be great, but they're not in the same sort of functional strategy value chain that the CMOs, the business consultants, the strategists, the sales consultants are in.
Those CFOs or fractional CFOs.
Yeah, the fractional CFOs, they like us because they love the ROI and they love the fact that we actually sit down and do the math ahead of time. So that's a little unusual.
No, that's interesting because I would have never thought of digital marketing in that space as far as, having a strategic plan with others who want to have a strategic plan. is
Yeah,
what it
it's so
sounds like.
funny. So like I started the business because I wanted my own company and I love marketing. But I came to realize really quickly that they came to you and they said they wanted a website. And they didn't want a website. They want revenue. At the end of the day, that's what they want. And it's a small business, and I'm a small business person. So I understand, like, I don't have time to waste or money to waste. So it better work, right? So let me help you figure out if it will work, right? I don't want to go into it and not know if it's going to work or not, right? I want to give that, because I would have people say to me, can you guarantee your results? And like I said, I was always kind of put off by that because I was like, can you guarantee your close rate? And not to say that we can't, like, I'm highly confident that we can deliver our part of it at better than we project even. But I know that what that business owner who's about to commit a significant portion of their revenue, and it's harder for a small business to do this. That's my dog in the background. It's harder for a small business of 3, 4, 5 million in revenue to do this than a $50 million company. It's a much bigger bet. So you have to provide them with peace of mind. Well, the only way I can know to provide peace of mind is to get into reality. Like, let's be honest and let's be real about what's possible and what it's going to cost and how long is it going to take to get an answer about if it's going to work or not. And what will be the milestones along the way to know that we should continue to invest in this or should we stop, right? I owe that. I feel as a company, we owe that to our customers, right? In the same way that we want honesty from them, we owe them that level of honesty and that level of clarity for them to ask them to make the kind of investment we're going to ask them to make. It's the decent thing to do, right? I'm always amazed by agencies that will just take people's money for 6 months, and then like get them on page 2 and say, oh, sorry, it didn't work. I'm like, that's a crime, honestly,
Yeah,
And,
there's some of that in our industry too.
well, it's
And
in every industry,
sometimes, sometimes you have to have that willingness to have that difficult and awkward conversation.
Sorry, I was just going to tell you something funny. So I once had a lawyer say to me, your industry doesn't have the greatest reputation. And I was like, sorry, man. But like, that's like the pot on the kettle black. It's like, you got to be kidding.
Yeah. Our industries,
No, every industry has that on some level, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, with it all being said, and someone comes to you and says, Dan, I really need your help. What is the best way for that business owner to reach out to you?
If they're talking to me right then? Or
well, if they're talking to you, I think they're just saying it out loud after watching this show. They're like, I need to talk to that guy.
So best thing to do is email me at dan.smink, and that's SMINK at C1, the number 1 -partners.com, or just call me on my phone. It's 303-501-1821 is the office number, and they'll put you in touch with me. So,
and we'll include slides at the end. One with that information, one also with your ideal client and power partners list.
Okay.
So I'll definitely include that information on there.
Okay.
Any last thoughts?
No, I mean, it was great to talk with you. I will say that you're like one of my favorite people to follow on Facebook because you have like the most entertaining posts in the world. How is your running going is my question.
Good. I'm not fast, but I get to the finish.
You're giving you so much credit. Aren't you going to do the boulder for the first time?
No, this would have been my second time. And
okay.
I went ahead and ran a virtual one. And so, yeah, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you're one of my favorite people too, because I like the content that you put out.
As much as you do.
Well, it's because I have no life. Well, Dan, my friend and my business colleague, thank you so much for being on your virtual coffee today.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know you and C1 Partners. Thank you to my fans. Thank you for watching. If you are new to this show, Please click subscribe below. The reality is we couldn't do this show without you. So business owners, I love talking to you, so let's have a conversation. Thanks, everybody, and have a terrific day. Your Virtual Coffee is sponsored by Ventola Law. Ventola Law, mediation and legal representation at an expert level. You can find them at ventolalaw.com. Thanks for joining me today. For more information on Your Virtual Coffee, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wait for it, our website at yourvirtualcoffee.com. Thanks again for watching and have an incredible day.